Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, dear devotees, I seek blessings from all of you to present Srimad Bhagavatam following the mood of Guru Parampara. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We can recite together. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudire shinvatam swakatha Krishna punya shravana kirtanaha hridayantasto hyabhadrani vidhunoti suhritsatam. Thank you. Nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavti naishtiki. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So we are continuing our reading, Canto 9, Chapter 9, Text 30 and 31. I will read 30 and then we'll recite 31, call and response. Text 30. Soyam brahmarashi varyaste rajrashi pravaradbhivo katham arhati dharmagnya vadam pitu rivatmaja. Translation. My Lord, you are completely aware of the religious principles. As a son never deserves to be killed by his father, here is a brāhmaṇa who should be protected by the king and never killed. How does he deserve to be killed by a Rajrishi like you? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The word Rajrishi refers to a king who behaves like a rishi or sage. Such a king is also called Naradeva because he is considered a representative of the Supreme Lord. Because his duty is to rule the kingdom to maintain Brahminical culture, he never desires to kill a Brahmana. Generally, a Brahmana, woman, child, old man or cow is never regarded as punishable. Thus, the wife of the Brahmana requested the king to refrain from this sinful act. Text 31, please repeat after me. Tasya sadora papasya bhrūnasya brahmavadina katham badham yatha bhabror manyate sanmato bhavan tasya sadora papasya bhrūnasya brahmavadina katham badham yatha bhabror manyate sanmato bhavan tasya sadora papasya bhrūnasya brahmavadina katham badham yatha bhabror manyate sanmato bhavan. Tasya sadora papasya bhrūnasya brahmavadina katham vadam yada bhabror manyate sanmato bhavan. Tasya sadora papasya bhrūnasya brahmavadina katham vadam yada bhabror manyate sanmato bhavan. Tasya sadora papasya bhrūnasya brahmavadina katham vadam yada bhabror manyate sanmato bhavan. Tasya sadora papasya bhrūnasya brahmavadina katham vadam yatha bhabror Manyate Sanmato Bhavan. Anybody from Vaishnavis? Tasya sadhora papasya Brūnasya brahmavadina Katam vadham yatha babror Manyate sanmato bhavan. Word for word translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Tasya, of him, sadho, of the great saintly person, apapasya, of one who has no sinful life, brūnasya, of the embryo, brahmavadinaha, of one who is well versed in Vedic knowledge, katham, how, vadham, the killing, yatha, as, babro, of a cow, manyate, you are thinking, satmataha, well recognized by higher circles, bhavan, your good self. Translation: you are well known and worshipped in learned circles. How dare you kill this brāhmaṇa, who is a saintly, sinless person, well versed in Vedic knowledge? Killing him would be like destroying the embryo within the womb or killing a cow. Purport: as stated in the Amar Kosh dictionary, Bhruno Arbake Bala Garbhe. The word Bhruna refers either to the cow or to the living entity in embryo. According to Vedic culture, destroying the undeveloped embryo of the soul in the womb is as sinful as killing a cow or a brāhmaṇa. In the embryo, the living entity is present in an undeveloped stage. The modern scientific theory that life is a combination of chemicals is nonsense. Scientists cannot manufacture living beings, even like those born from eggs. The idea that scientists can develop a chemical situation resembling that of an egg and bring life from it is nonsensical. Their theory that a chemical combination can have life may be accepted, but these rascals cannot create such a combination. This verse refers to bhrūnasya vadham, the killing of a bhruna or destruction of the embryo. Here is a challenge from the Vedic literature. The crude atheistic understanding that the living entity is a combination of matter belongs to the grossest ignorance. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyati Deshtarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are continuing to hear the arguments from the Brahmana's wife. So we know that Sudasa has become a man-eater because of being cursed by Vasishtha, and he's trying to eat the Brahmana who is engaged in sexual intercourse with his wife in the forest. And here Brahmana's wife is presenting arguments to the king, Sudasa, who has become a man-eater, to not do so. So these two verses are on the same context. I was thinking we can discuss a little bit about conflict resolution, because Srimad Bhagavatam gives us so many different ways how we can work on a conflict. And another thing we can discuss is about how Srimad Bhagavatam explains about protection of brahmanas, women, child, old men and cows. So we'll discuss these two things and then we can open up for discussion. How does that sound? Hare Krishna. Okay. So we hear from Chanakya Niti. Chanakya was a famous Brahman, and he gave Arth Shastra, how to do diplomacy, and his principles are used even today. In India, in Delhi, we have a place called Chanakyapuri. Yes, thank you. So that is the place where all the embassies are there from the different countries. So he is well recognized. So he gives a principle called Sam, Dam, Dand and Bhed. These are the 4 principles for conflict resolution. Sam, it means to persuade patiently by discussion. Sam. So we can see that it is being used here in Srimad Bhagavatam even prior to Chanakya. Chanakya gave it maybe 4th century BC, and Srimad Bhagavatam is 5,000 years old. So here, the Brahmana's wife, she's smart, she's Brahmana. So she is giving arguments. She is persuading this man-eater by giving good arguments and patiently understanding, acknowledging the situation. So her argument is that this Brahmana is he's Brahma Rishi, he's following the principles of Brahmanical culture, and you are a Raj Rishi. And she is glorifying this man-eater, this Raj Rishi who is turned man-eater, and reminding him of his real situation. And thus, he should not be killing a Brahmana who is like a son for a king. For a king, anybody who is born in his kingdom is called Praja. Praja means one who is born from you. And Praja not only includes human species, but anybody who is born in your jurisdiction. So generally we have something called national. So when Prabhupada says national, means anybody who is born in your nation, not only human beings but even cows. So why are you killing cows? They also deserve protection. Animals, poor animals, they are innocent, they cannot retaliate. So the king is supposed to give protection to animals as well. Although we heard from Mukunjan Prabhu one day ago, when it was mentioned that life of a human being is much more precious than animals, but still the animals need to be protected. So this is the argument of Brahmana's wife. And I was also relating it to the persuasion of Vasudeva to Kamsa. When Kamsa was taking his sister Devaki, who was recently married to Vasudeva, and they were going from the palace of Kamsa to the palace of Vasudeva, there was a prophecy from the sky that the 8th son of this Devaki will kill you. And then Kamsa was ready to kill his dear sister immediately. And Vasudeva was trying the same thing. He was trying to persuade our Kamsa with good arguments and glorifying him. Kamsa, you are born in the dynasty of Bhoja. You are the glory of Bhoja dynasty. How does it befit you to kill a woman who is your own sister? She deserves to be protected like a daughter. So we see this mood of persuasion. And if that doesn't work, then you offer some benefits. Dam means we ask, what's the price? So in India they ask for dam kya hai? What's the price? Dam. So you try to give some benefits or gifts to that person. Vasudeva gave very good arguments in Srimad Bhagavatam Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 10, Chapter 1, text 37 through 45, which are about self-realization. He told that we are not this body, we are spiritual beings. Just like we walk on a sidewalk, we put one foot first firmly, and then we pick our second foot and put that, take it forward. Similarly, a living entity leaves one body and takes another body. So death is inevitable for all living beings, but death is only for the body. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. The death is only for the body, not for the soul. So please don't be afraid of the death, which is anyways coming. So you deserve to protect your sister. Even after giving so many arguments, Kamsa did not. He did not change his mind, because he was very sinful. He was a demon. He was associating with the demons. Although born in a good family, he was associating with demons. He was sinful and envious. So he did not change his mind. And then Vasudeva offered a benefit. He said, okay, whatever children are born from my wife, I am going to present them to you. So for the time being, please don't kill Devaki. In that context, there's a very beautiful verse, 10:1, 57 and 58. I just wanted to recite that. It's a very beautiful verse, showing the liberality of Vasudeva. So Vasudeva was very much disturbed by fear of becoming a liar by breaking his promise. Thus, with great pain, he delivered his firstborn son, named Kirtiman, into the hands of Kamsa. So Vasudeva's words were not just words, they were impeccable. Whatever he spoke, he did it. So we discuss about honesty and integrity. Honesty means to express what we are doing, really. That is honesty. Integrity means to express something and to do it also. So honesty and integrity are both important. We take vows of chanting Hare Krishna and following 4 regulative principles. That's our promise. And when we follow it in our life, that is integrity. Honesty means if we have some anarthas, we express them in confidence to fellow devotees whom we can trust, whom we can confide in. So honesty and integrity are both important for spiritual life. And we see Vasudeva, he's exhibiting that behavior. He was disturbed by fear of becoming a liar by breaking his promise. That is the real fear for a devotee. He is not afraid of death. He's actually afraid of becoming a liar. He doesn't want to become a liar. Thus, with great pain, he delivered his firstborn son, named Kirtiman, into the hands of Kamsa. And text 58, it's so beautiful. What is painful for saintly persons who strictly adhere to the truth? How could there not be independence for pure devotees who know the Supreme Lord as the substance? What deeds are forbidden for persons of the lowest character? And what cannot be given up for the sake of Lord Krishna by those who have fully surrendered at his lotus feet? So I was thinking, Srimad Bhagavatam is so poetical and so beautiful. We have these nuggets in Srimad Bhagavatam. So, although it was so painful to give the firstborn son to Kamsa, but what is painful for saintly persons who strictly adhere to the truth? How could there not be independence for pure devotees who know the Supreme Lord as the substance? So a devotee who is following the 4 regulative principles, chanting 16 rounds, how could there not be independence? What deeds are forbidden for persons of the lowest character? So Vasudeva did not condescend Kamsa. He just knew that this is the person of lowest character, this is what to expect. Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita teaches us how to manage our expectations. I heard one class from S.B. Keshav Swami. He was saying, Bhagavad Gita teaches us how to manage our desires. We are living entities, we are not dead stones. We have desires. But a human being knows how to process his desires. Some desires have to be removed altogether. Some desires have to be transformed. Some desires have to be regulated. Radhesham Prabhu gives this principle of SSR. He says, sanctioned, sanctified, regulated. Sense gratification is required. We have senses, we cannot remain without sense gratification, but it has to be sanctioned. So if one wants to enjoy sex life, one has to have sanctioned marriage life. One has to get married. Sanctioned, sanctified. Sanctified means one uses one's life for yajna. If one earns money, one gives a portion of that money for Krishna service or for some charity, service to the community. That's called sanctification of one's wealth. And then regulated. Whatever you do, whatever sense gratification you have, should be regulated. We honor prasadam, it should be in regulation. It's good. So then it's nice. So this is so nice to have sanction, sanctification and regulation in our life. Then we can progress on the path of self-realization. So Sam, Dam, of course he did not go to Dand and Bhed, but I was just thinking these two are good principles, and I'm not sure how far this will go with this Brahmana's wife. She doesn't have the capacity to offer any benefits or any punishment. But I will still go for two more, which is Dand and Bhed, just for the sake of completion. Third thing is Dand. If you give benefit to that person and it doesn't work, then you have to punish that person, or at least show of punishment. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Dando damyatam asmi. Out of all the ways of chastisement, I am punishment. Sometimes you don't even need to administer it, but you just have to show it. That works. There is a story of Narad Muni, and there was a snake who became a disciple of Narad Muni. So snakes are normally envious. They bite even if there is no offense on others' part. But this snake became a Vaishnav. Now he is not biting anybody. And there were kids who came to know now this snake has become a Vaishnav, so he is not going to retaliate. So they would throw stones at him, abuse this snake. And this snake who has become a Vaishnav, he can't do anything. He's compassionate. So he comes to his spiritual master Narad Muni and he asks, what should I do? These kids are, chastising me or making my life difficult. So Narad Muni said, I have told you not to bite them, but I have not told you to not show your fangs. So show your So snake, he would just show his fangs and the kids would run away. So show of punishment is also important. There's a verse that was quoted in this Chanakya Niti or one of the Vedic texts. It says, if a king is very severe with punishment, he becomes a source of terror. We see the example of King Vena. King is required in order to administer law and order. So Vena was a king who was punishing rogues and thieves, but he was also stopping all kind of fire sacrifices. He said, I am the supreme, and you should just worship me. Forget about worshipping God. And he stopped all kind of fire sacrifices. So Vena was so cruel. Everybody was afraid of him. So of course punishment is important, but too much punishment and this severity of punishment, it can make you a source of terror. So king, which uses punishment inordinately, becomes a source of terror. A king without punishment, he's taken just a coward. Nobody will care for him, or people will despise him if he doesn't offer any kind of punishment, if he is too liberal. But a king who can show, who knows how to show punishment, he is honored. Who knows the process of how to just show the fear of punishment, he is honored. So it's important to know how to utilize this. Don't go to dand directly. So this is the order: sam, dam, dand, bhed. First try to persuade people. Understand, acknowledge, appreciate the situation.
Is it before done?
No, bhed is at the end. Bhed is at the end. So first is persuasion, second is offering benefits, third is punishment, and fourth is divide and conquer, divide and rule. That's the last resort. So it is important to, I heard this from Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, to accept, appreciate and acknowledge. In any conflict situation, it is important to accept that this person is like this because of certain reasons. Appreciate and acknowledge it. Then you can think about how to process the situation. If we don't hear, if we don't listen to the other person, then it is very difficult to resolve any situations. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Yeah. So, Sam and Dam. So we also heard this in the qualities of Brahmana. Shamo, Damastapa, Shocham. His Sam is first. He's able to tolerate. He's able to. So similarly, one has to tolerate conflicts. In any organization, there will be conflicts. For a leader, it is important to tolerate, understand the situation, accept, acknowledge. Here, the wife of the Brahmana, she knows that this person is the king, but he has become a man-eater. So she can't expect him to. So she understands the situation, but still she is trying to persuade, trying to put the right points, trying to bring the person to his senses. Similarly, in our life, we can fall into forgetfulness. Krishna says in chapter 15, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. Krishna is the source of knowledge, forgetfulness, and memory. Right? Yeah, jnana, matta smritir is memory, jnanam is knowledge, and apohanam is forgetfulness. So here in this case, because of Vasishtha's curse, this king, Sodasa, has forgotten all his saintly nature. He has become a man-eater. Similarly, we might be persuaded in our life due to circumstances to forget that I am a devotee. Because of it's called in the spur of the moment. We might act in a way which is because of our past habits. We have this nature of acting under passion and ignorance from so many lifetimes. So don't expect everybody to act like a devotee, even from your own self. Those anarthas can unearth themselves many times. So just accept it, appreciate it, acknowledge it, and then try to process those anarthas, that behavior, in ourselves and in others. So Krishna says, Api chet suduracharo bhajte mam ananya bhag sadhureva samantavya samyak vyavahito hi saha. That even if a person who is a devotee, he acts abominably, he's abominable, something which is just not expected from a devotee. But if he is fixed in his devotional service, he is fixed in his determination to worship Krishna, he should still be considered a devotee. He should be still appreciated. So we see here, the Brahmana's wife is still appreciating this person is a king. He's in the dynasty of Ikshwaku, the great dynasty of Ikshwaku, but he has become a man-eater. So she is still appreciating the situation, that this person was and hopefully become free of this curse and then will be reinstated in his position. So we should not be quick to judge people. It's important to understand the situation. It will be good for us and for others. So Sam, Dam, Dand, and Bhed is to divide and conquer. So Bhed is when we have to part ways. There is no way to resolve a situation. We just have to part ways. Either we have to break the team, or we have to get out of the situation. So that's the last result. So this is the steps of conflict resolution. So I wanted to mention that. I also wanted to mention this in terms of book distribution. There's a verse given by Srila Prabodhanand Saraswati, I think Chaitanya Chandramrita, text 90, how we can use these techniques in book distribution or preaching in general. This is a very beautiful verse. It says, Dante nidhaya trinakam padayor nipatya kaku shatam kritava chaham bravimi he sadava sakalam eva bihaya dura chaitanya chandra charane kurutanuragam. So this is the process of preaching or book distribution. Srila Prabhupada gave a lecture during his Vyas Puja in London, 1973. So he gave the explanation of this verse. So I want to read that because it's marathon time. We have few more days. You can appreciate it. So Prabhupada is telling here, you go door to door, no other talks. Simply say, my dear friend, you are very nice. You are very learned. That was adopted by Prabodhanand Saraswati. Dante nidaya trinakam padayor nipatya kaku shatam kritva chaham bravimi he sadava sakalam eva vihaya durad chaitanya chandra charane kurutanuragam. The meaning is the preaching. Very easy. Dante nidhaya trinakam. According to Indian system, if you put a grass on your mouth, it is a sign of you have become very humble. If you approach a person with the grass in your mouth, he will immediately know that you are coming there with very great humbleness. I heard from His Grace Amarendra Prabhu, he said, when we put grass in our mouth, it's like I'm an animal, because animals eat grass, right? So I'm like an animal, my intelligence, or I am accepting that I'm lower than you. I don't know any better. We heard in the case of Chaitanya Charitamrit, Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, they put grass in their mouth, trinakam, and they were approaching Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is to express humility. I'm like an animal. I'm no better than an animal. Another reason why they put grass in their mouth is that I don't want to say anything. I just want to listen. Because otherwise the grass will fall off, right, if you try speaking. So this is a sign of meekness and humility. Therefore, Dante Nidhaya, this was the system. Dante Nidhaya Trinakam, and touching his feet, immediately touch his feet. Immediately, even if he's enemy, he will be a friend. Even if he's your enemy, it is so nice process. Take a grass on your mouth and immediately fall on his feet. Padayor nipatya. And with folded hands, much flattering. Dante nidhaya trinakam padayor nipatya. Kaku shatam kritvach. All flattering words. Aham bravimi. So immediately he will agree. Yes. What you say, I will hear. I will hear. So myself and Dwijmani Prabhu were on book distribution, and we went to an Indian store, and it was an Indian restaurant, and we fell down at the feet of the owner, and he said, we are doing this Bhagavatam distribution, please take this Srimad Bhagavatam, and please, we distribute them in India, in US, please give a donation. And that person immediately became so humble, and he gave us $200, and then we gave him Srimad Bhagavatam. So it works. And there's another person I met in San Francisco, in Fisherman's Wharf, or it was near the ferry building. So this person, he was follower of some kind of spiritual organization, and he knew the devotees, and I immediately touched his feet. He was a Western person, but he was follower of some spiritual organization. And then I showed our cause, that we are raising funds. He did not want to take any books. I said, could you make a donation? And he said, okay, I will give a donation. And he gave $100 on Venmo. So it's nice to offer humility. It's good for us and good for them.
You touched his
I touched his feet. Yeah. Right. Just see how perfect process is. Then what is your purpose, sir? Why you are becoming so humble, meek? And now say, yes, sir, I will say. What is that? Hey, Sadhava, you are a great sadhu. Although he may be a rascal number 1. Still, you call him, hey, Sadhava. Yes, I am a sadhu. Yes. What is your proposal? Now, kindly forget all nonsense. Whatever you have learned, that's all. I am flattering you because I want that you forget everything. All these yogis and this and that and meditation. Please kick out all these things. Then what I have to do? Chaitanya Chandra Charane Kurutan Anuragam. Just adhere yourself to the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then you become spiritual master. That's all. So I hope that all of you, men, women, boys and girls, become spiritual master and follow this principle. Spiritual master, simply, sincerely follow the principles and speak to the general public, then Krishna immediately becomes your favorite. Krishna does not become your favorite, you become Krishna's favorite. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Na cha tasman manusheshu kaschin me priya krittama. One who is doing this humble service of preaching work, Krishna consciousness, nobody is dearer than him to me. So, if you want to become recognized by Krishna very quickly, you take up this process of becoming spiritual master. Present the Bhagavad Gita as it is, your life is perfect. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We are already out of time, I guess. So maybe I will stop here and open for any questions or reflections. Hare Krishna.
One question about Vasudeva. And he was trusted by Kamsa because he was his word was his very life, and he knew that he would keep the promise of bringing the son, which he did. The first 6 sons, we know the 7th son was a Balaram, transferred, and then the 8th son was born, but he didn't bring him to Kamsa. So he broke his word. How do we understand that?
Yeah. 8th son, yeah, I think...
The 8th son was Krishna.
Yeah, Krishna. So,
the 8th child was Krishna.
The 8th child was Krishna. I think my understanding was he was under the spell of Yogmaya, so he delivered Krishna to Gokul, to Yashoda, and he brought the other baby, Yogmaya, back with him. So, my understanding that he was just acting under the spell of Yogmaya. Whatever Krishna instructed him, he did it at that point of time. But you may enlighten me, Prabhu. I don't know.
Well, it reminds me of the situation on the battlefield. You know, when Krishna ordered Yudhishthira to, well, we're not going to be able to kill Dronacharya until he thinks his son Ashwatthama is dead and gets all depressed and stops fighting. So therefore, since your word, everyone knows you tell the truth, I want you to lie. I want you to say Ashwatthama is dead, so that he can hear it. And Yudhishthira refused. He said, I've never told a lie in my life. I can't do that. So he was punished by seeing hell. He didn't go to hell, but he had to see hell. And then there was a trick where Krishna said, okay, we see that there's an elephant over there, a big elephant, famous elephant known as Ashwatthama. He's been killed. So you announce Ashwatthama the elephant is dead. That's the truth. So you say, okay, that I can do. So as soon as he started Ashwatthama, and Krishna blew his conch or something during the elephant part, and all that Dronacharya said, oh, Ashwatthama is dead, then he became depressed, then he could be killed. But the idea is that you know, for Vasudeva, I think when it came time to, you know, really, he saw this was the person, he knew that this was the personality of Godhead. So rather than keep his vow, he said, well, whatever the punishment is for that, I'm going to take Krishna across, you know. And that was the right thing to do.
Yes. Thank you very much. I was also remembering in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sarv dharman paritejya mam ekam sharanam vraja, that abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender into me. I will protect you from all sinful reactions, do not fear. So Krishna is the absolute truth. Whatever he says, if we follow, then we'll be free of all sinful reactions. He is also known as prophylactic, the ultimate pure. in Ishopanishad. Yes.
Other aspect of this, which is concerned. In the 70s, I was around, when book distribution started to really take off.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a tremendous sense of also competition, which Prabhupada encouraged, so that, the devotees, with wholesome competition.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened was that the techniques by which devotees would get the donations in order to give the books sometimes bordered on, the famous change up. You gave us $20. Here's your book. Well, what about my other $15? You're already at the next person. It was so that was not approved by Prabhupada. When eventually he saw that this is not good, and I think Vaisheshika Prabhu has made it clear, which became that whatever you do, you have to leave them with a good impression, even if they don't take a book. Otherwise, the movement ultimately is hurt by that, and Srila Prabhupada's name is hurt also.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu. Anybody else? Yes.
I had a few things, but I know time is short. Maybe I'll just try to be quick. But one is when you look at the four upayas, I am pretty confident that Danda's the fourth one, and Beta's the third one.
Oh.
But I think the thing there is that Beta, meaning like division, isn't referring to not necessarily like the divide and conquer kind of division, but as in like cause division in the other camp, or like have them, not like the division isn't referring to like we divide from them, like we split off from them. That's not that Beta, but let their party split up. Let's cause their party to split up, Beta. But so it would be Samadana, Beta, Danda. We could look that up, maybe but it's in the Artha Shastra, but it gives that order. But okay, well, I'll just leave it at that. But one related thing I wanted to ask about is that when you look at Danda, so Krishna refers to, as you mentioned, Krishna refers to Danda in the Bhagavad Gita, just like of ways of stopping crime. I am Danda, I am the stick. And now we could just say that Krishna is just, we know the word Danda carries that connotation, carries that meaning as punishment. But at least some, okay, so I shouldn't say some. To be more intellectually honest, one person I once heard on a class online, and I thought this was interesting because like you said, it seems that when we refer to the four upayas, they're coming from Kautilya or Chanakya. But then, and then you were saying that, well, even though these four, listed as they are, come from Chanakya, it seems they're also, well, let's just look, we can see them in Bhagavatam. Now, in this portion of Bhagavatam, we're mostly just seeing the first one, maybe the second one. But at least you could see, anyway, at least, I think an even stronger example is that it's interesting that we see it in Bhagavad Gita. Whenever it comes up, and when you look it up, it always refers to it. These four upayas come from Chanakya. But it seems like it's referenced in Gita. And at least one person in the class, and I could try to contact him and ask him what his evidence is for this, he was saying that the four upayas, maybe it's his mistake, he said it was in Manusmriti. I didn't find it in Manusmriti. But he says that's why, when you read the verse, you have to know the context, like the Vedic context, that anyone hearing this verse would recognize, and when he says, I am Danda, that would carry the connotation that I am the last resort, I am like the strongest option, if everything else fails. And at least his assertion was that these four upayas were already known, like pre-Chanakya. At least that seems like what he was saying. But I haven't seen the evidence of that it's there in Manusmriti or anything pre-Chanakya, even though you could maybe deduce that from that Bhagavad Gita verse. But has anyone heard any evidence for that?
Yep. 7th canto, 5th chapter, text 20. No, it was not 20. I just had it. Text 19. And it's the Tata Inam Guru Gadva. So Hiranyakashipu is making sure that his son Prahlad is being trained in these diplomatic principles. And it's Gyata Geya, which are to be known as Chatushtiyam. And then Prabhupada, in the word by words, he defines it Sama, Dana, Beda, and Danda. Now, I have to investigate the commentaries and see if that's, because that's exactly what he was teaching him, or that's what Prabhupada is putting in there from Chanakya.
Mm-hmm.
But Chatu is four, so there's four diplomatic principles, so there's some evidence there.
Yeah, I mean, this person, at least he seems to kind of often know what he's talking. I tend to trust that he has a reference for things, so maybe I should reach out. But, I mean, that makes, okay, so in Bhagavatam there's a verse saying, okay, teaching diplomacy, and it says of the 4 items of diplomacy. And then Srila Prabhupada includes, does he mention Chanakya in the purport? Does he just mention the 4?
It's not even in the purport, it's there in the word by word meaning.
I see. So he inserts it even though it doesn't say them in the verse in Sanskrit, but it says Tutushti.
Four things there.
Yeah. So at least it'd be something, if we could find that, at least there's some idea, at least someone floated, that these are actually there somewhere in Shastra, these things, and they don't just originate from Chanakya, but that he put them in, just like many things, many good points in Chanakya Niti are not original to Chanakya, but he puts them in really good ways, or kind of like a C.S. Lewis, some kind of, or Bhadranath Swami calls him like the Benjamin Franklin or something like that, of Vedic India. Yeah. So something like that, worth looking into. Now the last thing really quick is just, this purport, it mentions it talks about abortion, which devotees don't speak much about, it seems, I find. There's not a lot of talk about abortion. At least in here, Srila Prabhupada's emphasizing that, like we might talk about how like the most sinful activity is killing a cow, and here Srila Prabhupada's saying, or killing the soul in the womb is as sinful as killing a cow or brāhmaṇa. Now most people know us, or in anyone, like let's say anyone they consider Hindu, as being anti-cow killing. My impression is that most people don't even know that we're against abortion. And I don't know if is that a fault of ours? Is that something we should try to make more known? You could say it's controversial, but so is being vegetarian. At least it certainly was in the 60s and 70s. Is the fact that abortion is a controversial topic a reason why we shouldn't be well known for having a strong stance against abortion? I guess that's a question on my mind. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think we should express it. That's true. We see this. Maybe this was unheard of in Vedics, this abortion, but in the recent past we see it's much more prominent. Prabhupada also says this many times, abortion, bhrūna hatya. In India also it's called bhrūna hatya, is very famous. I mean, this word, bhrūna hatya. So they are against it. Even the government is against that, bhrūna hatya. So we should strongly emphasize on this actually, but I don't know why it's not so much emphasized. Prabhupada actually emphasizes on not even begetting children, not even engaging in sexual intercourse unless you are doing it for the progeny. So killing children is of course out of the picture, He's just saying don't indulge in sexual activity if you are not begetting children. So I feel Prabhupada is already mentioning that if somebody is really understanding this philosophy, but it can be emphasized more. It's true. It can be. Just another thing, we don't go on Harinam. Don't eat meat. We chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. We know that we were in that Harinam last night, or 31st night. Everybody was breaking those 4 regulative principles, but we were not chanting don't eat meat, don't drink. We were chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Because in this age, it's just, Prabhupada says, it's almost incorrigible. People are incorrigible. They cannot be reformed. It's impossible to implement Varnashram. That's why we just chant Hare Krishna. And people who become serious, who become inquisitive, we offer them books and try to take them to the next level.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, a lot of our views, we don't come out and make a priority, especially with people who aren't even chanting Hare Krishna or anything. We kind of try to get our priorities straight, chant Hare Krishna first of all, and then talk about things to add, things to subtract. And so I guess you could say that more optimistically, you could say, well, surely we can. I like to think that that if the devotee is asked about, just like if the devotee is asked about different forms of illicit sex, or asked about eating fish or oysters or something, a devotee isn't going to shy away from saying, yeah, that's discouraged heavily, or discouraged to whatever degree it is. But they aren't going to go out of their way and make a talk about it necessarily. Yeah. Maybe that. But then even then, sometimes I lose that optimism when I see there's one very prominent disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and in a talk, or like a podcast with other devotees, he and he has in a talk online, he mentioned amidst a number of very progressive points kind of inserted into the Bhagavad Gita, inserted the point that when Roe v. Wade was overturned, I couldn't sleep for days, or maybe he said weeks. I couldn't sleep because of just the offense toward. Now that part he said. The context was he was saying something along the lines of, like the offense toward women, what this means for poor women and so on. But I was like, wow, and it didn't seem like anyone called him out on it, or like asked, like, what do you mean by that? Maybe we could find a charitable way of interpreting what he meant, but it seems like in the context of what he was saying, this kind of esteemed Prabhupada disciple, no one really questioned why he inserted this amongst other progressive views, that when Roe v. Wade was overturned, I couldn't sleep for days or weeks or something like that. It was so troubling to me, so concerning. Where's the world going that Roe v. Wade was overturned? Whereas, like many things in ISKCON, if someone were to bring up, if someone were to say like that in a podcast that about like meat eating or something like that, people would be like, "Whoa, Prabhu, wait, Prabhu, can you you want to walk that back or something?" But with this one, it seems like it's not even it seems like we don't speak about it enough, or even to the point where someone could even say something like that, like, and no one even kind of questioning, okay, interesting. Maybe that's just like maybe it's a gray area in Krishna consciousness. That was my impression. I was surprised, or I would say discouraged, and I wasn't sure what to think of it.
No one said something. Do you mean like on the comments?
In the podcast or in the comments?
How many people are in the podcast?
2 people.
Yeah, 2 people in the podcast and in the comments.
The comments, nobody. Yeah.
How many people?
And it's a thing that's, I think, it's not like anyone's comment. No one posts anything online. So and so Prabhu says he can't. Like I thought it was pretty radical. Like
How many people watch that thing?
I'd have to see. It came in an email. I got a link to it in an email from some temple in the first place. So I don't think it was such a small thing. I don't think it was like a 13 viewer, 2 people just speaking on a podcast.
How many people go on Dandavats?
We could see.
I mean, it's just a thing to consider.
It's a thing to consider, but I think like if someone else were to say something on Dandavats like in another category, I think it would pick up some attention. But with the abortion thing, I don't know, somehow it didn't seem to pick up much attention.
It's important to not shy away from these social ills, as Prabhupada came out very strongly many times. But I feel there are different avenues for presenting them, rather than going out in public for people we are just sharing them Hare Krishna. That's the first view. They should see us as Hare Krishna people. But then there are those avenues when there are discussions on a particular topic. We can have a stand there. We can present our view. Just like there are interfaith dialogues, there are dialogues for the environment, just for environment. So similarly, there could be some discussion or debates regarding this. We can, of course, present our viewpoint. So that way, we are part of the discussion, I feel. There's a very nice lecture by His Grace Radhika Raman Prabhu. He gave a seminar at ISV, ISKCON of Silicon Valley. It's called Engaged Vaishnavism. This term comes from Buddhism, engaged Buddhism. So we do not shy away from the problems that are there in the world, because we all come from the spiritual world. We don't care for the material world. In that seminar, Prabhu emphasizes that the kings would make sure that the material world, everything is taken care so that we can progress spiritually. He said that's why it led to the downfall of India, because people became so spiritual minded that did not concern themselves with the social issues. So it's important that we take care of those social things so that we can progress spiritually. So engaged Vaishnavism.
Yeah. It's funny, like looking at, I could imagine someone could look at my contribution in this class and think it's kind of like, you give a very nice optimistic perspective, I give some cynical perspective, you compliment it with something a little more positive, I respond with something a little more negative. Here comes my negative side. So when I think of this, the idea
I'm not going to the Dand, I'm trying to be at some, maybe I have to go Dand and bathe.
When I hear the term engaged Vaishnavism, it's funny because I think there are two different ways you can have engaged Vaishnavism. One is that you engage with the outside world by being a Vaishnava.
Yeah.
And so you engage with the outside world by being strong in your Krishna consciousness and injecting Krishna consciousness outside, Krishna conscious, not just values and views, perspectives out into the world. So, but first you have to then be anchored to Shastra, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, and then you can be an engaged Vaishnava in the outside world by then providing that. This is the Vaishnava perspective.
Mm.
But there's another type of engaged Vaishnava where you're engaged in the news, or you're in the news and then you engage the news in your Vaishnavism, in the temple or in your Bhagavad Gita. And so rather you are very much in the secular world and in the mainstream values and mainstream perspectives in the news and so on. And then when you're at the temple or even you're preaching, you interject. This would be the secular view, or this would be the progressive view. This would be the mainstream modern view. That's another kind of engaged Vaishnavism, which I see. That's the concerning version, and I think some may mistake the second for the first. That I'm engaging. This is engaged Vaishnavism. I'm not shying away from the news. I'm connecting it with Krishna consciousness. But are you connecting, the news with Krishna consciousness, or Krishna consciousness with the news? When you see the news, do you think of Shastra, or when you look at Shastra, do you think of the news?
Mm.
And maybe I didn't say that so clearly, but maybe you can pick up what I'm saying.
One thing is it's very difficult and like practically impossible in a sense to if you want to say, take the pulse of the Hare Krishna movement. Like, what is it? What is the Hare Krishna movement? Where does it stand on this and like the preaching and this and that? I mean, it's a worldwide thing. And generally, there's a tendency to try to think that because a few loud people and their voice their opinions, then that's kind of like what everybody's thinking. Like in the modern world, the tendency is, there's a few loud people who know how to use electronics and get their message out, and that must be what everybody's thinking, but that's not the case. Just like, not getting into the subject, but more so talking about the principle, you have a whole uprise of this idea of, women acting as Diksha gurus. Now, because there's a few loud devotees in America, and they feel that is the case, then is that the case like worldwide? As far as, who knows? That's another thing. It's hard to take the pulse on everything, but looking at all the different countries of the world, practically you don't hear much from any other country besides America in this regard. You don't hear from Australia, New Zealand, India, Malaysia, wherever place you look, you don't hear much about it at all besides from America. But that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's thinking like that, just as an example, and taking the principle. So, there might be, and practically what we do see is that generally devotees who are tending more on the liberal side, if you want to call it that, they tend to be very active on social platforms, whereas, if you want to say, the more conservative devotees aren't. So Yeah, it's just it's really difficult to take a pulse, and just because Prabhupada disciple said it or this or that, that doesn't. I mean, with all due respect to Srila Prabhupada's disciples, but their understanding or their influence, that doesn't say everything for everybody else. So, anyways, that's just a comment.
Okay, thank you, dear devotees, for your time. I'm sorry for going overboard, and I'm sure you will kill me because I'm stopping you from prasadam. So I don't want you to imply danda and veda on me. So I'll stop here. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.